Hello, and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in work and in life and simplify them. And friends, whenever we use the big, nasty, scary word that is called change, some people tend to quake in their boots. They go, oh my God, change is so hard. And if that's you, go ahead and raise your hand now. You're listening to us. Yeah, girl, I feel you. And I want to reframe that ever so slightly in today's conversation. We're actually simplifying how to be a positive change maker in your work, in your life, and how you show up in your day to day. And I'm so excited for you guys to meet our special guest today. Her name is Catherine Alonzo, and she's a social change leader, a keynote speaker, and the author of The Changemakers Toolkit, a book designed to help people make an impact even when the world feels overwhelming. As a co-founder and CEO of Javelina, she helps organizations and campaigns turn big ideas into real-world change through powerful storytelling and strategy. She also hosts a podcast, How to Change the World, where she shares practical tools and conversations for modern change makers. So I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Catherine Alonzo. Hey, Catherine.
Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
Oh, I'm so thrilled you're here. And I love talking about hard conversations and hard topics. So let's break it down. Let's simplify it. And, let's also talk about the big old elephant in the room, right? It's 2026. We're recording this. And let's face it, a lot of people feel really overwhelmed right now, both personally and professionally. And I dare say that this is not just an issue in the States. This is happening globally. Why does this moment feel so heavy? And how does your trifecta of change help explain what we're experiencing right now?
Yeah, and it's an incredibly palpable feeling. This sense that everything is moving in the wrong direction and we are powerless to make a difference comes up for me in conversations with friends and family members and coworkers every single day. When I'm keynoting, I always ask the room, how many of you this week have had a conversation about how hopeless the world feels? And more than 80% of the room always puts their hand up. It is such a common experience right now. And I think that there are three reasons that is really driving that. And when combined, I think of them as the trifecta of change. The first reason is the big problems that we face. Threats to democracy, political polarization, threats around things like affordability and housing that are related to our everyday experience. And these really big challenges that we face that we've always faced big problems, right? So what is it about these problems that are so overwhelming? And I think it's that they feel existential. They feel related to our ability to continue to live in a way that we're accustomed and to be able to deliver that experience for the people we care about, our kids, our grandkids, the people that are going to come after us. So that's number one. Number two is the fall of trust in traditional institutions. So all kinds of institutions, the government, the media, big business, small business are enjoying and receiving lower levels of trust than they ever have. Research shows actually that since 2022, so coming out of the pandemic, that trust in traditional institutions, who, by the way, are the organizations that are supposed to be responding to these big problems we face, we just do not trust them to do so. And then the third factor, which is a big bow that ties around it all and makes it all particularly potent, I think, is the rapid rate of change that we are living in. That things are just moving faster than they ever have before. And that rate of change is exponential. So it gets faster and faster and faster. And I'm sure, Mary, you've had this experience. You feel like you wrap your head barely around one new technology or emerging trend, and then the next one is coming down the pike. And it's not just technology, it's cultural trends, it's what's acceptable socially in our spaces. Just, it's very difficult to feel like you can keep up with how quick things are changing. And so these three things, the big problems we face, the fall of trust in traditional institutions, and the rapid rate of change, this trifecta, conspire to really make us feel so out of control and that we are powerless to do anything about it. And we're just along for the ride in a roller wagon with no seatbelts. And it can be really discombobulating.
Yeah, no big deal, right? I think you've nailed it. These are the three massive things. And I think what a lot of people do, and I'll be the first to admit that sometimes I do it too, is you like put your blinders on like a horse and you just put your head down and you just like, I'm just going to get through today. I'm just going to get through this week. I'm just going to get through whatever, right? And pretend sometimes like it's not this big existential thing that is happening around us, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a really natural response. The really interesting thing about the trifecta that I found, Mary, when I was researching for the book, is that actually when reconsidered, these and when reframed, these same conditions actually create unprecedented opportunity to drive impact. Yeah. So do we have big problems? Yes, we absolutely do. And at the same time, when we have a big problem, it creates the conditions for time, energy, resources, creativity to be channeled into solving that problem. So think about a time that you maybe had some sort of plumbing crisis in your home. You woke up to water all over the floor. There was a burst pipe. It changes. It's very stressful. It changes your day. It immediately becomes your top priority. And you put time and resources and energy into it, and then you fix the problem. And not that you ever wanted the problem in the first place, but it does create the conditions to solve the issue. And so we are living at this time where we have some really critical issues, and it creates the conditions for us to be able to solve them. That any opportunity, any big advancement, either on a community level or in our own lives, is often born out of a moment of crisis. And I think we can miss that sometimes when we're in it. Mm-hmm. And then this fall of trust in traditional institutions is really destabilizing, and it creates opportunities for new players. The same surveys that show that we don't trust traditional institutions show that the highest levels of trust exist in community-based, locally led organizations and people that we have direct ties to, someone like me or my employer. And so it creates this opportunity for us as individuals to drive more impact than we ever have done before. And then lastly, that rapid rate of change that is so destabilizing, and it certainly is, it just means that collaboration, creativity, learning from others is faster, cheaper, and easier than it ever has been through the course of history. And so this really upsetting trifecta of change that we're living in, when you reframe it, actually presents more opportunity for you to drive impact in toward the world as you believe it should be than has ever existed before. And that was really what inspired me, realizing that was really what inspired me to write the book.
It's so good. And I really want to unpack everything that you just said there. You know, before we go into this in great detail, I also want to kind of point out a moment of empathy that I have stumbled upon myself in the last couple of months. You know, I'm a public speaker just like yourself. And anytime I go and I speak in smaller towns across the US, right? Not big cities. You go and you feel like you're in a time warp. You know, a lot of these smaller towns look literally like the same that they did in 1985. And then I think about when I meet people and I speak in these smaller communities and talk about the topics that I talk about, I go, my goodness, of course it's exasperated to you, because where are you getting your information from? You're watching the news, you're reading your newspaper, probably still on print form and not online. You're having to trust that the media is telling you the truth of what's going on. And everything outside of your small town feels big and scary. Like the change is exponentially feels bigger and scarier, right? And so I just want to pause in that moment and say, like, if you're listening to us from a small town and you're like, yes, yes, and yes. The trifecta is 1,000% that, and really, really bad here because it's threatening all the things that I know are comforts and safety and security. Just can you speak into that also? Because I think sometimes we get into big city mode and we think, well, this is how it is for everybody, but actually it isn't, right?
Oh, and I think we're guilty of doing that in lots of different ways, not just our geography, but our lens of the world. And we think, yeah, this is the way it is for everybody. And we all have our own different reality and our own understanding of what's going on. So it's absolutely true. I think the thing that you hit on there, Mary, which is really important, is this idea that in change, we're going to lose something that's precious to us. And so one of the things I address in the book is nostalgia. Nostalgia is this longing for the way things used to be, and often endemic in nostalgia is the idea that it was better. It was better before. And what we really want to do is go back. We want to go back to a time where things felt more stable, more predictable, safer. And, I mean, you don't have to really look very hard to recognize how powerful nostalgia is. We are living in a sort of a redux of the 90s in many ways, culturally, fashion, the music we're consuming, that, we're really sort of longing for this time that has gone by. And I think nostalgia can be a really beautiful thing. And it is a form of magical thinking, because what it allows you to do is remember all the things that were better about it and forget all of the things that weren't better about it. And so what I really invite my readers to do is remember that the past is not to be abandoned. It is absolutely to serve as inspiration for what we want to create, what we want to protect, what's precious to us. What we miss about the past is often a really important clue as to what you value the most. And recognizing what you value the most as somebody who's making social change is a vital, vital skill. And so there's a real value in that nostalgia. The important piece is to not forget all of the things that weren't better, the people that were excluded, the people that were left behind, the discoveries we hadn't made yet, the systems or structures or cultural norms that were harmful to many people. And so the past is not to be ignored. It's not to be denigrated. It's to be respected. And I really think of it as like a source of inspiration for what do I want to make sure to protect in what I'm creating. But remember that the tomorrow is always a better day for a lot of people.
Yeah. And, one of the things I've learned, writing my own book and going through this process is a lot of times we as authors will write about a book that, is personal and true to us, trying to alleviate this pain or suffering that maybe we have experienced so that others don't have to experience it as painfully and as, drawn out as we have. So on a personal note, where does your own drive to make change come from? And how has this shaped the kind of change maker and leader that you've actually become?
So it took me a long time to figure it out, actually. And it was through a series of events and reflecting and figuring out what my core values are and what my purpose is in the world that I finally sort of figured out where this all came from. And the funny thing about it is that there was a moment, and it happened in a moment that I actually don't even remember because I was 6 months old. And when I was 6 months old, my older brother, Rory, died 3 weeks before his 3rd birthday in an accident. And I don't remember Rory. We shared 163 days on the earth together only. And I do not know what it is like to lose a child. But I do know what it is like to grow up in a grieving family with a front row seat to what that kind of loss does to you and how it shapes families and how it changes what you think the world will and won't offer for you. And at the same time, me and my younger brother, Alec, had all the things you would want any kid to have. We had the fun holidays and the great vacations and the in-jokes and the love and support and all of that stuff. And in the aftermath of Rory's death, our parents taught us 2 really important lessons. One is that life does not come with a safety blanket. Tomorrow is not promised. As they said to us, bad things happen to good people. And I just grew up, Mary, with this sense that the rug could get pulled out from underneath me at any moment. And given that reality, the other thing they taught us is that the only power any of us really have, any of the power that you can really guarantee, is the ability to make a difference in the lives of other people. And that's an ability, a power that you must choose to use on purpose. And I really think it was those lessons that instilled in me this palpable physical pull to want to make a difference in the world. When I was younger, adults ask you, what do you want to be when you're older? And the real answer was, I want to change the world. But I knew that you couldn't really answer that. And so it took me a long time to figure out my path and what that was going to look like for me. And that was a meandering journey with a lot of calamity, actually. But I finally figured out that my way was initially going to be working in the American political system. And then that really dovetailed into what I do now, which is helping all different kinds of organizations working in social and systemic change tell their story so they can connect with more people and advance more impact.
And it's so profound. I'm so glad that you shared your story, and I'm so sorry that happened. And equally, I'm so glad that you are out in the world inspiring people to find that self-agency, to realize that change is possible with, starting with the one. And, that more of us will take our blinders off that we put on ourselves because we're like, the world's too much. It's too much. I just need to focus, right? And realize that there is power in numbers. If we all just simply did our little part, that actually makes a profound change, a positive change on the world. So I want to talk about the how next. And in the book, you say that change makers need 4 tools: vision, action, core values, and conviction. So let's walk through that framework and how it helps someone move from simply good intentions to actual real impact.
Yeah. And before I do, I want to pause for a second to say that this is a framework that you can use to make any kind of change. So you might be thinking, as you're listening, you might be thinking about some sort of social change that you're engaged with, something that you care about in your community, your work. You can also use this framework for a micro level change in your own personal life. This framework that I describe in the book and that I'm about to go into, yes, I absolutely use it in my work, and my clients use it in their work. I have also used it in my individual life to tackle some really big challenges. I used the same framework to change a lot of really toxic behaviors I had around body image and health. And that is something that had plagued me for years and years and years, and it doesn't now. And I used this same framework. And so it really is a very universal approach that can be used for anything that you want to change and see different in your life or the world around you. So with that said, here's the framework, and it's very simple and yet deceptively so. Number 1, vision. Envision the world as you believe it should be. And this is not a sort of a vision statement, which is a mainstay in the social sector. This is a vision story. So it is multiple paragraphs long in vivid detail of how the world will look in the far future, but far enough that you can still see it. So 5 to 10 years. In 5 to 10 years, how do you want the world to be? And that world is defined by whatever you're working on. So if you're working on a personal challenge, you describe what does that life look like in 10 years on the other side of this challenge. The second one is creating systems so that you can take consistent action toward that vision. Having a vision of how you want the world to be is absolutely critical, but wishing something does not make it so. We have to take action to make it so. And so these systems are about taking the thought power out of that action. Rather than relying on determination, passion, willpower, you want to create a system so that you're making it as easy on yourself as possible to take that repeated action that is necessary to create change. Number 3 is core values. This is so important. Knowing what your core values are as an individual. And simply put, core values are the things that matter the most to you. And for anyone listening who thinks, yeah, I know what my core values are, what I find very often is that understanding our core values exists on a curve. That at the beginning of the curve, we have a general sense of what's important to us. Family, community, adventure, whatever it might be. We have sort of a general sense of, yeah, these are the things that I really need in my life. As you move along the curve, your understanding of your core values gets deeper, where you'll get to the point where you can actually name, these are my specific core values. This is how they're defined. This is how they show up in my life. When you are at that point, that is when you can really start to use these things that matter the most to you to make decisions and navigate challenges. And what that does is it really puts you back in the driver's seat. We have been talking, Mary, about how the challenging thing right now is that lack of control. Feeling that we're just along for the ride. There's nothing we can do. We have to put our horse blinders on and just it's about survival. When we know what our core values are and we make those decisions, it puts us back in the driver's seat and really taps into the agency that we do have. And that is such an empowering, life-saving thing to do. And then the last one is conviction, that you must build a belief in yourself that you are possible of making this change. Changing the world starts with believing that you can. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you do not think that you will make change, then you won't. And so the good news is that research shows that belief in ourselves, belief in our own self-efficacy is not born but made. It's a skill. It's a skill that you can get better at like any other skill. And in the book, I offer up 4 really pretty simple habits that if you invest in every single day, over time will compound into a belief in yourself that you can translate into anything.
So tell us what those 4 things are. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're my favorite. Really put pretty simply, hype it. So when you see other people succeed, hype for them. Celebrate their achievements, comment on their social media posts, send them a text message, send a coworker an email at the end of the week. Hey, I saw this thing you did. It was incredible. Number 1 is the simplest one is nail it. So you set yourself a tiny goal and you achieve it. And you want to be just a little bit outside of what feels easy. So you tell yourself, I'm going to work out twice this week, or I'm going to get up 5 minutes earlier tomorrow and meditate. Just something that's a tiny bit of a reach, not too hard. And you just one goal at a time, just one little risk that's in alignment with whatever you are working on. Set a goal and achieve it. Set a goal and achieve it over and over and over. And that really is remarkable in terms of building your belief in yourself. So we have nail it, we have hype it, mirror it. If you see somebody else do something, then you mirror that. If they can do it, why not you? And initially, I used to say to people when I was speaking, if they can do it, why not you? And I would, those words would come out of my mouth and I would think, do I believe that? Like, if I'm watching Alyssa Liu at the Olympics skate this incredible single, individual program, and I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it. I guarantee you, if I get onto ice skates on ice today, I am falling over immediately. Like, I don't think that is in my future. But what I can do is I can bring the same tenacity and determination and input to what she did, what she does. Everything that she brings in terms of getting up every day, training, having something that she's dedicated to and putting that energy in, I can do that. I can do that to whatever I care about. So that's what I really mean by mirror it. And then the 4th one, and I think this is actually the most important one, is frame it. That research shows that one of the biggest indicators around how much change we're capable of making comes from how we interpret the things that happen to us. Just the everyday events in our lives, good, bad, and indifferent, how we understand them, the stories we tell ourselves about those things. If we are always telling ourselves that I'm the victim, bad things happen to me, that is going to really diminish your ability, your belief in your ability to drive change. And so you want to be watching yourself. How are you interpreting the things that happen? How are you framing those? And how are you telling yourself a helpful story?
It's so good, you guys. Like, you've beautifully simplified some 4 practical things that I think anybody that's listening to us right now, this is something you can test. You can try this in your own life today. I encourage you even just to pause in your podcast player right now and write those down. Hype it, nail it, mirror it, frame it. These are the simple things that you could be incorporating into your life and see if it delivers results. And you're so right. Like, our perception creates our reality. Like, how we perceive what is happening with air quotes, to us, is how we interpret what life is and our life purpose and our meaning, and how we navigate the world itself. And so just simply by reframing it, I think it's so interesting. Our human brains are so such curious little creatures all into itself, right? Whatever we tell it over and over and over again is what it believes is true, because it can't seem to discern, fact from myth, because it's just looking at repetition. Oh, I'm not very good at this. I'm not very good at this. Oh, I can't do this. Well, it's going to believe that, and it's going to look for the data points that actually prove that thing or not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's just so good. And you also, in the book, you talk about your 5 yards. So what does that concept mean in relation to all of this? And how can someone figure out the part they're meant to carry forward right now?
Yeah. So when I first came from the UK to the States to study my master's degree at Arizona State University, I went to a presentation by the president of the university, Dr. Michael Crow. And he gave a presentation to my master's class, and it was a master's of public administration. So these were all people that wanted to get involved in local government and make a difference. And he said to us something that I have never forgotten. He said that we are all standing on the shoulders of giants, that we are all carrying the ball forward from the people that came before us. And what we get to do in our lifetime, in our career, is carry the ball forward 5 yards before we have to pass it on to the people that will come after us. And so the question he posed to us that day is, what are your 5 yards? What are your 5 yards? How are you going to carry the ball forward? And then he shared with us what his 5 yards were and his vision for the university and the specific part of the university that we were engaged with. And I think it can be so helpful, Mary, especially today when it is very easy to get overwhelmed by the entire state of the world. I think one of the reasons for that is when we think about everything that's going on and everything we're overwhelmed by, we think about everything. We think about all of the problems, all the things that need fixing. And a really quick, powerful way to take the fangs out of that feeling is to think, you're not going to fix the whole thing. What are your 5 yards? What are the 5 yards that you are focused on in terms of carrying the ball forward? And what are you doing today to carry that ball forward? And what we have to do is give ourselves permission for the answer to that question, what are you doing today, to change with the seasons of life, with how we're feeling, with everything we have going on. But sometimes you're going to be carrying that ball forward in really big, assertive ways. And sometimes you're going to be carrying it forward in smaller, quieter ways. And that is more than okay. It is that coming back to that central fiber. What are my 5 yards? And what am I doing today to carry it forward?
It really reminds me of a part of your book that, if you'll give me the honor to do this, I'd love to read a bit from your book, because it really does point back to this very simple but profound piece. So in your book, The Changemaker's Toolkit, page 52, you say this: the choice is yours. Will you seize the opportunity to create change, or will you let it slip through your fingers? And this is called the impact paradox. The impact paradox represents the tension between the overwhelming challenges of our time and the unprecedented opportunities these same conditions create for individuals to make a meaningful difference. While today's realities can certainly foster feelings of despair, disengagement, and disempowerment, they also provide fertile ground for innovation, collaboration, and tapping into our own agency. The very nature of our world often compels us to focus on the obstacles rather than the possibilities. And the impact paradox invites you to flip this narrative. While the trifecta of change can indeed contribute to a sense of hopelessness, it can equally open the door to transformation, progress, and growth. The path you choose isn't inevitable or predetermined. It's a choice that you get to make. And it's so spot on. Every day is meant for you to take 1,000 daily choices. And some of them you're going to flub up, right? And some of them you're going to make unconsciously. You're just not even thinking about which way you drive to work and what you're going to eat for breakfast. But there are choices in your day-to-day life that those tiny ripples make positive change. You make a positive impact, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think one of the very best things that you can do, Mary, if you're feeling this way, you're feeling disengaged, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling worried about the state of the world, one of the best things you can do is take stock of all the things that you already do to make a difference. Yeah. And I learned this from, I facilitate a book club every month. It is called How to Change the World Book Club. And we'll read different nonfiction books about various topics and challenges that are relevant in the world. And very often the group ends up feeling kind of despondent at the end, like, oh, this is a big problem. I don't know. And a very common question I'll ask them is, well, in alignment with whatever topic we've been talking about, what are things that you already do in this realm? And by the time everybody's finished answering that question, we have this long list of things that we are collectively doing to move the ball forward. And I think that we as humans, particularly humans that care about the future of the world and want to make a difference, we tend to take all of those things for granted. And we don't give ourselves credit for them at all. We only denigrate ourselves for the things we're not doing, for the more, this sort of endless, invisible more that we could be doing. And so flipping that and really not only taking stock of all the things you're doing, but commending yourself for those. You are far more likely to A, keep those things going, and B, do more if you celebrate rather than always making yourself feel bad for these things you're not doing yet.
Yeah, it's the micro moments. That's the ones that actually compound into something that makes something really big. I think that's also the piece that our human brains love to do is like, oh, if it's not big enough, it's not worth it, right? It's not worth the time and effort and energy. But who gets to define big in your life, right? And everything that you talked about today, we've been talking a lot this season on the podcast about how do you improve the employee experience at work? How do you improve culture at work, especially if you work somewhere where layoffs are a commonplace thing and, trust is at an all-time low. I think there are moments like this where you can think about, well, where do I have agency? Where can I make a positive impact in the micro moments, either as a people leader or maybe working in HR? And just to continue to move forward every single day, to your point, taking consistent action, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That consistency is really important. And that's where I always come back to these tools, Mary, is that the tools really are that they are things that you reach for to help you when you're feeling stuck. And depending on who you are as a person and the specifics of the moment you're in, different ones are going to be helpful at different times. So sometimes if you're feeling overwhelmed, something bad is happening at work, you're feeling so discouraged, sometimes tapping back into that vision you have and just rereading your vision or just talking to somebody about your vision for a world, that can really help you feel sort of inspired. Sometimes doing something really small, taking a small action toward improving your situation and borrowing from that second tool, action, sometimes that is the thing that you need. Another time, coming back to your core values, what is most important to me? What's missing here? So let's just say as an example. You are somebody that really values safety and kindness. Layoffs at work are going to feel horrible. It is going to feel unkind for the people that you cherish and work alongside every single day. It's going to really upset your sense of safety. Sometimes even saying out loud, this is so difficult for me because I value these things. Sometimes even that can be helpful. Just recognizing, why does this moment feel so sharp? And then what you can do is think, okay, if I want more safety and kindness for the world, those are the things that matter the most to me. How am I giving those to myself, and how am I giving those to the people around me? And it doesn't mean that you can control what happens. You can't prevent more layoffs. You can't save the people or really control their future that are impacted by this. You can't control what is going to impact your own life. What you are doing in all of those examples is tapping back into that agency. Yeah. And if I had to summarize the whole book in one sentence, I think that's probably what it would be. It is about how you move from the need to control into the ability for agency. And when you can do that, to simplify it, if we will, that is how you make change. Because where we get stuck is where we are screaming that we don't have control. But none of us have control. Nobody. You might have short-term limited control that comes from having power, but that doesn't last. That long-term sustainable agency to drive change is really what you want to tap into, and that is available for you at any time.
Yeah. And you don't have to change everything all at once, right? Like that's the other huge part of it, is that we try to do all the things all the time and then we burn out.
Yep.
And then I think the other piece that is really, really, really important to this is you don't have to do this alone. So I encourage you guys, if you're listening to this episode and it's really inspiring you, I highly recommend going out and purchasing the book. It's called The Changemaker's Toolkit: How to Power Social Change in a World That Needs Hope. You can find that wherever books are sold, online, or even your local bookshop. And I encourage you, bring it up at the next employee resource group meeting or affinity group. Start a book club at work and say, hey, I heard about this book. Why don't we read this? And why don't we talk through every single chapter and see how we can start to make positive change as a collective at work and see what happens from there, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, having community is absolutely vital.
So, Catherine, as we wrap up, there are a few questions I like to ask you that I ask everyone that comes on the podcast. Here they go, rapid fire. First off, what's one book or blog that you're reading these days that's either inspiring you or poking holes and challenging your belief system?
Yeah, so I just finished a book called The Fall of Roe, which looks at the overturn of Roe v. Wade at the hands of the Supreme Court a few years ago. It's by Elizabeth Diaz and Lisa Lira. And it is, they're journalists. So it's kind of like an investigative journalistic approach to understanding all of the factors that went into the fall of Roe. And it's fascinating. It's such a good read. It reads like a story. But what I've loved about it is this case study and how you make change. Now, it's not a change that I am aligned with. I would want the change to go in the opposite direction on a personal level. And at the same time, it is this incredible case study in really how you can bring about this incredible impact. And I think that there are a lot of lessons that can be learned from it. And it was just, it really made me think.
I love books like that. We will link that up in the show notes for you guys. Head over to thesimplifiers.com if you're curious about that book or any of the resources we've talked about today. Tell me, who's someone in your network, somebody that you know personally is just up to brilliant things? If we were to shine a spotlight on them, and who knows, maybe one day we'll have them on the podcast, who would that be?
Yeah, a friend of mine, Tari Thomas, she is invested in being a part of the solution when it comes to housing shortage. And she and I met through a local leadership academy, and she is building a business actually that is really a part of the housing solution, but it's it's a big thing, that it's a big undertaking. And I saw her the other day, and she's been working on it for years, and it really is kind of a startup, and it has high entry costs because there's property involved, so it's a lot of owning real estate. And what I really admire about what she's doing is that she recognizes that it takes a long time. She has this vision, she's working toward it, and she realizes it's going to be a million little steps along the way. And she and I ran into her, and I was asking how it was going. And I was asking her, do you ever get discouraged? And she said, well, yeah, sure. But I know that it's a million little steps, and I just need to keep going. And I think that our culture celebrates this idea of instant success, and that it's not that it doesn't happen. It just is so rare. And the larger part of the pie is the people who are just chugging toward a vision of the world as they believe it should be without any guarantee of success. And that's where the real beauty is.
It's so true. 99% of what we are working on, creating, and putting out in the world, you don't see behind the red curtain. You don't see the work and the effort that's done in the daily day. You only see the triumph at the end. And so then you compare yourself against other people, and you go, oh, look, they've got it all figured out. No, actually, it was a million steps that led up to that one point that you're seeing publicly. Oh, I love it. I will link her up in the show notes for you guys if you're curious about the work she's doing out in the world as well. I believe gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand. Tell me, what are you grateful for today?
Oh my gosh, I'm really grateful for those moments that you get with the people that you love that maybe are inconsistent but so cherished. So I'm in a position where my immediate family, we all live in different countries, actually. Me and my brother both live in the States, but he lives on the East Coast and I live on the West Coast. And he is in town for a work reason. So he's here right now, and we've gotten to hang out. And it's just so special when you have those moments. Like we were just, having some beers last night on a Thursday night and hanging out and catching up. And I really try in those moments to just really sit in the gratitude for the fact that the world brought us together, and we get to have this kind of a normal experience. It's not, we're not on vacation together, we're not at Disney, whatever, but it's really cherished.
Those are the best moments. Those are the tiny moments that we all should remember to live for and be present for. Yes.
Yeah.
So my final question for you is this. And again, thank you so much for your time, for writing this book and sharing your wisdom today on this episode. Someone somewhere, I'm willing to bet, is listening to you and I right now, and they are inspired, and they have this little spark in their heart that has always said to them that, you are here to make a positive impact on the world, but you don't really quite know how. That sounds really big, but it's there. That spark lives and it exists, and it keeps whispering in your ear. What's one thing you could say to them right now and whisper into their ear just to encourage them in this moment?
It would be, you can make change. That is my core philosophy of life. That no matter what you are facing, no matter what you are hoping for, you have the ability to do it. And if that's the core belief that we're starting from, the action is to just follow the light. That little spark, that little voice that's telling you, hey, you can do this, or you should do this, follow it. One step at a time. You don't have to have it figured all out. If that spark today is listening to this conversation has lit up something in you, take one of the actions that we've talked about today, and then just keep following the light.
Catherine, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.